This review is actually also happening due to a viewer's request, because he told me that the laptops that I usually review are a little bit too expensive for him as a student. And then he did the smart move, he checked Cyberport, asked me if I could review the Lenovo Yoga 720, which is usually quite often available for around 800 euros. I've also checked Amazon.com, where it's even cheaper for around $730 at the moment, so they have the even better prices. And that's also going to be the price that I'm going to judge it based off, and not the $999 that this model costed the way it is right now here. And if you actually want me to review something as well, check Cyberport. The link will be down there in the description below, because that's the source of my devices, and I'll see what I can do. But otherwise, let's get into the design and build quality of the Lenovo Yoga 720. And I gotta say, it's nice and thin. It's also quite compact for a 13.3 inch, and for a device of this price, actually also quite lightweight with 1.3 kilograms, especially if we consider one thing, that we also get a 360-degree hinge, which gives us all those nice modes like tent mode, tablet mode, and all that kind of fancy stuff. But even a touchscreen, and even more so with stylus support. In this price range, this is something you won't see all that often. Build quality is also very nice, because it doesn't really bend here at all, and not at the top or bottom either, which is the same thing that I just said. But we have feet, they don't protect it well from sliding though, ventilation holes, speakers, and I like the design. Build quality, definitely nice. It creaks just a little bit, but this is totally fine. Now, what do we get in terms of ports? We have USB Type-C. One of these is Thunderbolt, the other is for charging and just a more regular USB port. Then we get a headphone jack, reset switch, no cutout to open it. Even though we have an angle, I gotta say this is not really all that much of a help. USB 3 and the power button. I would have really wished for one more USB Type A though, because I use those still more often. But if you have a dongle, you can actually have quite a nice desktop replacement. Now, what else? Can I open it with one hand? And no, not really. I'm not even gonna try it, because a stiff hinge just doesn't allow that, which is also okay, because it has to be very stiff if you wanna use this in like a tent mode. It just shouldn't open on its own, and it doesn't, absolutely not, because this hinge, as you can see, also is quite strong. So nice job. In terms of bezels, you have to judge it on your own, because I think 3 of these are definitely very small. The one on the bottom is a little bit bigger, but that's okay, because therefore we also get a bigger trackpad. The build quality inside is also just as good as on the outside. The fingerprint reader usually works out totally fine, as you can see here. I had some little bit of sweaty hands, but usually this one is very reliable, also quite fast, so no complaints here either. And that's why I would say let's actually already get into the keyboard. It has, of course, backlight. The layout is quite nice, because we have all those extra options with function lock and so on. As you can see, I can just do this, all that. The layout is fine. It does bend just a little bit, as you can see. But travel is okay. It's not the deepest one, but it's at least quite nicely dampened. And I gotta say, the feedback is nice, and I can type on this really, really nice. I would say it's definitely really good overall, because of all the good aspects. I like the layout, because I had some trouble in the past with that on other laptops, so all is good here. But definitely, one thing that is better than just very good is the trackpad, because it is a precision trackpad, which means with the newest Windows you have extra gestures, like for example 4-finger gestures, 3-finger gestures, up, down, right, left, and even tab, where you can set up everything. As you can see here, with 3 fingers I can swipe between the tabs, I can switch. There are so many options, and you can pretty much set up everything you want with even so smaller macros. And I definitely gotta say, it is also very precise. The texture is great, because it's not too slippery, but it gives you the precision you need. Scrolling works so nice. It reacts everything just so right. So I really love this trackpad. Now it's part to go to the display, and it's nice that I can just lay it flat here so you can see the proper angle. And so what do I have to say about that? Of course, as you can see here, 92% of sRGB and 71% of Adobe RGB. Maybe not impressive anymore these days, and if you see this more red, that's due to my camera and if you don't have the highest resolution. But on paper, this is maybe not that great, but believe me, the display is really nice. The gamma is a little bit off, not by much. Now the brightness, that's actually one thing. 290, that's already not that bright, but the black values are okay, the contrast is good, and it's actually a little bit warmer out of the box. But my complaint is the brightness, because I use it at 90% all the time. And why? Because 80% already seemed too dull for me, and 100 is too bright. So you don't really have enough of some finer controls if you want to get the right thing. That was a little bit disappointing for me. Other than that, white point, as I said, actually quite close. Black also good, no light bleed, quite uniform. 1080p at 13.3 inches. Yes, it's not the super sharpest anymore, but in normal tasks it's quite fine, especially since you don't have any scaling issues, so all good here as well. Colors, due to the glossy display, also vibrant, vivid, and still quite accurate. So if you just see this as a normal one and you don't need it to be color accurate, as the numbers have shown, don't mind it, because the viewing experience on videos and all that is absolutely nice and nothing to be bothered about. Now let's get into the next thing, which would be the speaker, or the speakers at the bottom. As you've maybe already heard, once I put it the normal laptop way and it had the space to reflect on the desk, the sound got better, but I can't really say anything more than the sound is decent, maybe good, because I would have definitely wished for more volume. The quality and the sound balance was totally fine, but especially if you use it on your lap or on any softer surface, the sound was just not loud enough and it lacked some oomph. Okay, we have the Dolby Atmos software, which I will show on later, but that doesn't really help the fact that it's just about a good speaker. Really good though is the headphone jack, especially also with the equalizer, Dolby Atmos and so, but that one is loud enough, clear, and has the nice oomph that we also need. So that is good, but the speaker I would have wished for a little bit more. Now, the next thing, that is kind of a highlight, the SSD, because as you can see, super fast read speeds and also write speeds, and this is pretty much the fastest booting device that I've had, with about 5 to 6 seconds to the login screen. So it will actually lead longer to actually unlock with your fingerprint to find that spot, because this is so impressive. And also, of course, the browsing here, if you use it with your touchscreen, it works out fine. I still think for some reason Core M devices actually managed to do this better, maybe due to some different optimization. But if you use, for example, the trackpad, everything works out super smooth, super nice, and yeah. This and all other normal apps will get just handled fine. So if you want to do emails with this one, also do your text documents, browse the web, write emails, all that, absolutely no problem. Now, you could do some lighter photo and video editing on this, because the workflow, especially with the fast SSD, does allow it. But the rendering times with the dual core, after all, and no dedicated GPU, will take quite a while if you use Adobe Premiere. If you use something like Cyberlink Power Director that uses QuickSync, things will get way better, but I don't think that's so much of an option. So I will say it once again, it is possible, but I would not recommend it if you do this on a more frequent base, because therefore it's just not made for, because this is still, for me, dual core is just a more typical use device scenario, so no heavy lifting. It's possible though, and that also brings me already to the next point, the heat and noise. Let's cover the heat, and let me quickly check and cheat a little bit with my notes here. So, with an ambient temperature of, I gotta say, quite hot, 31 degrees, I had at the bottom around 34, at the outside to 37 in the middle. That's still okay if you have it on your lap, no issues at all. The upper part was then at about 32 to 36 degrees, so palms didn't sweat, so everything was fine. 46 temperature max for the CPU and 43 on average, all that is fine. Now load is a little bit different, because there on the bottom we had about 36 to 43. At the top 34 to 41, which is still okay, so not too hot. So you could use it on your lap, because the fans will then just cool it down, so it's all good. 69 degrees maximum CPU temperature and 65 of an average is actually quite low, but that's also due to one thing. It has a turbo boost to about 3.1 gigahertz, which it keeps for about like 2 seconds, because quite quickly it slows down to 2.5. And I'm not gonna really see this as throttling, because it just can't hold its turbo boost all the time. And 2.5 is fine, because that one it can keep all the way, all the time. Also no coil whine, and what I'm going to show you off as well now is the noise demo. Okay, so you've heard the fan, and I gotta say, it has more than just one level that you have seen, but due to the hot temperatures, it pretty much gets already to the highest state, which was the one you've seen, which I gotta say is actually totally moderate, because it's never loud at all. Temperatures at that level are absolutely fine. It's maybe not the most subtle fan noise, but still absolutely okay. Usually if you have it in normal use on your laps, that's the problem. You will block it quite often and the fans will then spin pretty much all the time. So maybe if you can spread your legs a little bit if you have it on your laps, or softer surfaces are not so much issue, but on lap usability, that's where I was a little bit disappointed, because I type a lot on my laps and then the fans did kick in a little bit more often than I would have liked to have seen. But about the battery. Full charge, 1 hour and 35. That is super fast. Now, the battery life, I would say, is still actually quite good, because what I got in my normal use was an average of around 6, maybe 6.5 hours. But if I just did some lighter tasks, like just writing emails and text documents, I actually could reach like 8.5 hours. And once again, I am starting to sound like a broken record. I turn off all battery saving technologies, use a little bit of a higher brightness than most people. And that's why I from experience can tell you that you should add maybe like 20-25% to that value. So more like, I would say 8 hours should be a good average that you could get, or maybe even more. But that's all I can say. Now about software. As I've already said, the Dolby Atmos software, it's not that spectacular, because of course you have different presets and you can set, for example, an individual one, but I don't think it's necessary to be used, because if you turn it off, the sound is weak, but it's not the most flexible one either. Now, what we also have, as you can see here, some extra Lenovo options where you get the most important settings, quick easy access to that. So definitely quite handy, but that's already gonna where I'm leave it. Now what I have to do now is actually check my pros and put in the right one, because obviously I forgot to do that. And here we have them. What do we have? On the good side, decent port selection for sure, even though, like I said, one USB Type-A would have been nice. Very good build quality, a really good and versatile design due to the 360-degree hinge. Also a very good keyboard, even a better, because great trackpad, very good fingerprint reader, and it comes with a stylus support and touchscreen. Still a very good display, even though the numbers maybe don't prove that so well, but in normal use, absolutely no problem. The speaker is okay, but it's just not loud enough, and bottom firing, a really good headphone jack though, very good daily use performance, super fast SSD and boot time, which is extremely impressive. In normal use, pretty much silent, pretty much no coil whine. From about 10 centimeters you can maybe hear something. So solid temps with good noise levels, a quite good battery life still, and an overall well-balanced package. Because if we check the downsides, actually not anything crucial, because one more USB would have been nice. It can't be opened one-handed, but due to the stiff hinge, that is kind of a necessity. Brightness steps and maximum brightness was something that I wasn't the biggest fan of. Pretty much can't keep the turbo boost at all, but still not a problem. And the fan gets blocked while using it on your lap. So that's actually the one thing where I was a little bit less happy about, because if you use it a lot on your mobile and so on the go and on your lap, this might be more of an issue as you would maybe think of, because it was a little bit upsetting. But no, let's get to the crux here. Priced at around, let's say, $750 or 800 euros. It's super easy to recommend. With the $999, I would still say it is worth it. But once I've seen the lower price that you can quite often get it, things are way easier, because if for this price you get pretty much most versatile device I can think of, because I don't think you will get around $700-800 a device with a touchscreen, stylus support. You have to buy that extra though, maybe sometimes it's on bundle, with a quality that nice display. Okay, the speaker maybe not the best, but the keyboard, trackpad, battery life, all that is definitely easily good enough. And that's why I also said a very well balanced package, because this is so much more important. Because what would have been the smart thing if you would have the best display, maybe the best speaker, and then poor battery life or something like that. So how they managed to balance this, they actually did really nice. So I have no problems recommending it. And the viewer who asked me to review it, I can tell you, you were right. For this price, I almost can't think of anything that good. There are some other ones, and I will try to review some alternatives to this one, because I think the around 800 euro price range seems to be the most appealing one for so many, because there you start to get really good quality, but you also get very good devices. I think a little bit lower, like 700 and below, is where you start to get weaker performance and weaker quality in general. So this is a really nice price range, and this is a really nice device. Easy recommendation, no problems. And yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Okay, and the next time, and don't forget, if you want me to review something, check Cyberport and I'll see what I can do. Other than that, have a good one. Bye. Until next time. Once again wrong. Until next time. Bye.